body gives a different meaning to different situations, and that's why every wound is special. And I cannot generalize saying that this is worse, but for me, it was the worst, the rejection wound and the abandonment wound.
That's so interesting. So the rejection wound is an ancestral wound that you call the exile wound,
Yes,
where we used to live in groups and we relied on those groups for survival. We were
absolutely.
exiled, we were rejected, and that immediately is tied to our survival rate. We can't survive without them. So now we're alone in the wilderness by ourselves, fending for ourselves with no one to trust and no one to have our backs. The
Yes,
abandonment wound is my parents didn't come back from hunting from the cave.
yes. For
Interesting.
example,
So tell me a little bit about that. The parents don't come back from the cave, and then what is that person thinking? What's the thought there?
the person felt abandoned. I cannot do it. I am not able to survive alone.
Mm,
I maybe I have to protect my children. Maybe my father left and now I have to protect my mom. And this is the core of the abandonment wound. When you were a child and you felt abandoned, you felt neglected, and you interpreted this as I'm not unconditional protected because we are. Our essence, our divine essence, we're children of God. We are eternally protected. And when we are connected with this, with our soul, we believe and we feel that, especially we feel that because a lot of people focus on the mind, on thoughts and beliefs, and I help people with their beliefs and thoughts.
hmm
But the most impactful orders are not the thoughts and the beliefs, are from the body to the mind, because the mind gives 20% of the orders to the body, but the body gives 80% of the orders to the mind. That's why I always say it's not only a belief that you have, it's an emotional imprint. It's a very deep cellular imprint that is stored in your body. And because it's cellular imprint, it needs to be rewired at the cellular level as well. But continuing with this abandonment wound that you ask, when you have the abandonment wound, you felt unprotected. You feel that you need to protect others because you don't want others to have the same devastating feeling of I'm not protected. Also, maybe you were a child and you felt that you needed to protect one of your parents or your siblings. So when you are an adult, you either protect, overprotect, you feel not protected, and you are sometimes you are the rescuer. That's for the abandonment wound, right? But I
Because
would like to go
nobody,
back. Sorry?
the rescuer, because nobody was there to rescue us, and we had to assume that role.
That's one reason. The other reason is because you were given this role, not
Mm.
on purpose, but you were given this role by a parent who also felt they couldn't do it alone because you're
Mm.
more likely when you have the abandonment wound, one of your parents also had the abandonment wound because they inherited this wound from their ancestors.
Mm. That's so fascinating. That's so interesting to me. So
How
how does this,
how's that? Why is fascinating? Sorry that
well,
I am asking the question.
no, that's great. Because sometimes we're carrying, because we understand now that generational trauma is a thing. We
Exactly.
understand that we inherit certain cycles, certain patterns, certain behaviors. I didn't realize that it also extended to wounds that could be inherited. But that makes sense because if you're raised by someone who has that wound that affects their paradigm, that affects their perception of the world, that affects how they do things, their behavior, that drives everything, their thoughts, their inner dialogue. So it would make sense that you would be raised in a way where that wound is again echoed and repeated.
Exactly.